Yo, 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 yo. How many yo's was that? Did you count them, Kirk?
What's that?
Did you count the yo's?
There were about 7 yo's.
No. That's way under. That's got to be way under. I don't know why I decided to go that route, but here we are. It's popcorn for breakfast. You already know. It's popcorn for breakfast. It's Monday night. It's possibly Monday night. If you're one of the people I can currently see up in the little corner watching the stream, thank you for being here. It is Monday night for you. If not, it's it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I don't know. But welcome. Thank you for being here. With me as always, your co-host.
Hello.
Kirk. I'm your other co-host, Cam. And I realized to my horror as we were about to begin this stream that I am wearing the exact same outfit that I wore last week whenever we streamed.
What?
And so for those of you astute enough to pick up on that, I can assure you that I have showered in the last 7 days. This outfit has been washed. My hat has not been washed, but my hair has. My hair has actually been cut since then. I know that this is you probably don't believe any of this, but I actually have left this chair. If you're concerned for my well-being, I have actually left. So do with that information what you will. Here's the deal. If you haven't picked up on it in the previous thousands of videos that we've done, I am a Miami Heat fan, and they had a playoff game tonight, and it's white hot playoffs. So if I don't wear white, they lose. That's just how it goes. That's not superstition. That's not
It's just facts.
It's just that's real life. That's just real.
Trial and error. You've found that every time you're not wearing white, they lose.
They lose. They told me to wear white, so I wore it, and I'm wearing it again.
How many games are in a typical season for the Heat?
Like the regular season or the playoffs?
The whole thing.
Regular season is 82 games.
Okay.
And the playoffs could be anywhere from 16 games to 28 games.
Okay, so we're looking at 112 games, if I did my math correctly, which I think was probably spot on.
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, wow, I was just guessing. Anyways, I need to buy you 112 white Heat
Well, no.
shirts.
It's just white hot playoffs. So
Nope.
I don't have to wear it during the regular season. It's just during the playoffs. Otherwise,
Nope.
I'm failing them, and they know, they can feel it.
I want you to be white hot from day one. They set foot on that court. They spike
Every
that
time.
ball because it's volleyball.
They spike it,
that
right?
Ball to
What else do they do?
their team member. They kick it in the direction of the goalpost.
Sometimes
I want to make sure that you are officially ready. So this is my stance. I'm going to, from this day forward, every time I have a few extra dollars, I'm going to sock it away, and I'm going to make sure I buy you 112 white t-shirts.
That's very generous. But I honestly probably have enough white t-shirts to wear one every day of the week that's clean. I probably do. Like enough white Heat shirts to do that. I don't know for sure, but I think I do. This just happens to be my favorite right now, so I'm riding the wave. Then the playoffs are weird. Like if you're a sports fan, the playoffs get really weird. Like if you're not a superstitious person, which I am definitely not, you get really weirdly superstitious. Like 2 years ago playoffs, we had a good run, and we played back-to-back green teams, and I did not wear green for weeks. I mean, just like literally would not wear it. Wouldn't wear anything that was green. Like it was bizarre. And it worked. So say what you will about it, but it did work.
Wow. And the game is almost over?
It is over. Right? It's over. I mean, I like you guys, but let's be honest. I would probably not be here if the game wasn't over, but I am here and happy to be here because, Kirk, we have lots of news. We have lots of big movie news going on, which was not the case during our last live stream. So I'm really excited to be here and talk about the news. The biggest reason for the news that we're going to talk about this week is a little event called CinemaCon, which for those of you who are unaware, this is a convention. You know, most trades have some sort of convention of sorts. This is legitimately like maybe in your line of work, you go to a big convention or trade show every year. This is the big show for people who own movie theaters. And so you might think to yourself like, well, then why does a bunch of movie news come out of that? Well, because the reason for it is that the way this whole business works is that movie theaters purchase distribution. They purchase a good, just like if you sell to any other company and they go out and sell it to the consumer. Movie theaters purchase movies and then they sell it to consumers. So this is the convention to sell the movies to the people who will sell the movies to the consumers. So pretty cool little industry knowledge there if you weren't aware of that. So there is a lot of movie news that comes out because these guys are out there. They're like, bring our movies to your cinema, right? Here's the release date. Here's who's in it. Here's the trailer. And so you get a lot of the really cool marketing type material for it. And what was really big this year is that it's the first time it's been held in person since COVID. So this was like, their big thing was like the movies are back, cinema's back, people are going, people are feeling safe enough to do it, and let's make a big splash. The theaters are still here, which I would say remains to be seen. As much as I am like an avid supporter of the theater, we've talked about it lots. Me and Kirk were literally at the movies last night.
That's right.
Seeing The Northman, which we'll be reviewing this week, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, so it remains to be seen if theaters are back, but there's certainly a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement. There's a huge slate of movies coming out this year that are really high profile, and we're excited to see all of them. And we got some news about a lot of those movies. So without further ado, let's pop it up, Kirk, shall we?
Yes, please.
Let's get into what's poppin'. All right. So after that huge tease about CinemaCon, I'm going to start with something that actually didn't come out of CinemaCon, because there are like two big things that sort of did not come out of CinemaCon that I want to make sure that we talk about. And the first one is utterly hilarious in every way, and I'm so excited to get into it. It's Fast X, Kirk. X.
Yeah.
Not Wakanda Forever.
Testosterone.
This is Fast X, baby. The X, they picked up on the fact that Roman numeral for 10 is X, and so they decided to go that route. But it's not the title of the movie, which we now know. It's not anything about the plot of the movie. It's the fact that director Justin Lin abruptly announced his exit from Fast X in the middle of production, which is, this is a big budget movie, and this is not something you see every day. Sure, there's creative differences, but most of that happens pre-production. Usually when you see director changes, it's pre-production, unless there's some sort of like Zack Snyder family emergency type of issue or something like that. So this was a big shock, especially considering, Kirk, and you'll remember this from whenever we reviewed F9. Justin Lin was talking all about how like F9 is the first movie in a 3-movie trilogy to finish out the franchise, right? And it's like his trilogy. It's like the Justin Lin big trilogy to finish it out. He bounced out. So whether or not that vision is still in place, I think is definitely in question. But what was your reaction when you first heard this news, Kirk?
First of all, never a better time to make a trilogy than series number 9, 10, and 11. Let's just call
That's what I always say.
I mean, this had to be like critically bad for the director to walk out, the relationships that were causing friction, because I mean, one would say that you're directing a very campy, most traditional stereotypical action movie ever, and you have creative differences. I mean,
right.
Have we seen the last 9 of these films?
It's a good point.
Seems pretty bonkers to me that something like this would happen or could happen. It's
actually a really good point you make, and not one that I had considered, because if you think about it, some of the same things that we talked about when we talked about Fast 9, F9, are what makes this so appealing, I think, as a directorial project. First of all, massive budget.
Yep.
Cast of characters who have been around the block. Basically, Fast and the Furious has created its own genre. So in order to knock it out of the park, you just have to make it bigger, faster, louder, crazier than the last movie, which the budgets grow and grow. So that's like a decently low bar to clear. And it doesn't have to be like the most well-written, deep dialogue heavy type of thing in the world. So, you get a few bad takes, you can leave that in the final cut. So you would think it's like a pretty plush job. But this is where it gets interesting, Kirk. Now you're thinking, what makes a guy leave this project? Well, The same thing that has caused a couple of different people to leave this project over the years, most notably Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and that is Mr. Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel can't live with him, can't live without him in the Fast series, and he is up to his old tricks once again. New York Daily News is reporting that Justin Lin left Fast X due to Vin Diesel's difficult behavior, showing up late to the set, out of shape, not knowing his lines, rewriting stuff on the fly, just causing all sorts of havoc on the set. And that was actually corroborated later today, like a couple hours before we jumped on the stream, by the Hollywood Reporter, who said that there were script rewrites from Universal and Vin Diesel that were causing Justin Lin anxiety, and he basically had one big blowout with Vin Diesel and said, and this is a quote from the Hollywood Reporter, "This movie is not worth my mental health," which we've all been there, right? Like with work, like this is not, sometimes that happens if you're in a bad job, like you're like, this is not worth my mental health.
I shouldn't
That was
laugh.
Justin Lin.
But again, I don't want to diminish Justin Lin. I hope he's okay.
No, but it's funny because it's Vin Diesel. Like that, you know, like that to me, like that is the thing that makes it funny, is like,
Right. In no universe does Vin Diesel hold the fate of Justin Lin's future, of his directorial career, right?
Yeah.
Like this movie could be the greatest or the worst, and no one would really care or say Vin Diesel did that to him. So I do wish him the best, but
yes.
I mean, which also just leads to the fact that he really must have been terrorizing him in such a nasty way through all of these things of just complete disrespect and disobedience. But again, I go back. It is the 10th Fast and the Furious movie.
I know.
I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Justin Lin is going to be like, I think this might be best career move ever for him. Other than financial, like actual career move, he's going to be happier. So that's good for your personal life, and like get out of like the next 5 years of purgatory making Fast and the Furious movies. Yes. You can go off and do something else. Like I think that's a win.
I think that the Broccoli's, who run the Bond Foundation, the James Bond Foundation, if they were to hire his skills, think of the car chases that we would have. But in reality, like put it into realistic terms, like you just have to like restrict him, right? Like have him just like make the plot, make the storyboards, and be like, okay, cool, we're gonna cut this piece out, and you know this tank doesn't belong here. Oh, and I saw that that James Bond lifted up a bulldozer. We don't need that.
Yeah.
And you put that all together, and I think that you can have something really cool and creative, and then just help guide him, help funnel him on the right path.
Yeah, no like hooking the chassis of the car onto like the remains of a rope bridge and then swinging through a valley, you know, none of that. We'll just take it like 3 steps back from that, and there you have a good James Bond car chase scene. I mean, listen, I don't really know what this guy can do outside of this, but I guarantee it's got to be better than what's been coming out. Because I did not think F9 was good. I felt like the bar was low to clear, and they somehow made a worse Fast and the Furious movie. There have been some movies that you're like, this was exactly what it was supposed to be, and you know it's as simple as that, and that's totally fine. But that one was like a step backwards, weirdly, for the Fast and the Furious. So
right,
good for him. So what happens is when you lose a director in the middle of production, that becomes a very expensive problem. So because this movie has a huge budget, a massive crew full of stunts, techs, you know, mechanics, I mean, just tons, like set design, all kinds of stuff. They were estimating that each day that this project was stalled without a director, Universal was spending at least $600,000 and upwards of $1 million every day without a director on this project. And so they worked hastily to put an end to that hemorrhaging of cash, and they hired Louis. I'm gonna mess up his name. He's a French director, so sorry, Louis or Louis. Give me grace here. Leterrier. He's officially replaced Justin Lin. This is the guy who directed Now You See Me. He directed the first 2 Transporter movies, which is probably his claim to fame. He directed The Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton. So,
okay.
Clash of the Titans. So there are some stinkers on that resume, but again, it's Fast and the Furious, so like low bar to clear. Seems like he would have the right sort of resume, and we wish him the best. Working with, Vin Diesel, who is like the movie equivalent of like Bridezilla, Groomzilla.
Right.
I feel like that's got to be a nightmare scenario.
Right. And I mean, if he walks out too, just a reminder, we're right over here. Just we'll be a duo like the Russo brothers. We're ready.
For Fast, no way. That's
Yeah.
the one project I would say a hard no to.
That's the one project, Cam?
That's one of them.
Not like Moana 2 or Little Mermaid 9. I mean,
I would do Moana. Moana 1 was great.
well, of course it was. You can't soil it with a sequel.
Well, sure, but I'm just saying, like, at least it's Disney then, and you don't have to deal with Vin Diesel.
I mean, everything will eventually be Disney. I mean, just give it time. Fast
We are on
10
that.
will be on Disney Plus.
On that trajectory. It's true, but and like what's weird is like I feel like Vin Diesel is on like the worst PR streak of almost anyone right now, save Ezra Miller, who gets brought up for the third episode in a row. Congrats, Ezra. But like seriously, like I don't think anybody really thought much about Vin Diesel other than like maybe he's not the greatest actor prior to all this like Dwayne Johnson stuff, and now this, and like the weird singing career that he had.
Oh,
It's like this dude is making a lot of bad choices, or just stuff is coming to light, and now it's like I kind of don't like this guy anymore. Other than the fact that he plays Groot, which I am fine with. So
right.
we'll go with that. But Fast X, it's off the rails, but now back on track, hopefully, and we'll see what comes of that movie, as it was already in production. Now got a director switch, and it's the 10th movie in the franchise, so we'll just see how it goes. Okay, next up, big story from today. The most significant story from today, which came post CinemaCon, was Don't Worry Darling, the Don't Worry Darling trailer, which dropped today. Big, long trailer here. I mean, we got to see some stuff from Don't Worry Darling in CinemaCon, some new looks at the cast. It's a stacked cast, right? Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, who replaced Shia LaBeouf in this movie. Obviously, the director herself, Miss Olivia Wilde, Gemma Chan, Chris Pine, Kirk, Kiki Lane. So huge cast, lots of different characters. Very lots of intrigue around this movie. I think the quote from Olivia Wilde at a CinemaCon that kind of piqued everybody's interest was, she said, this movie was inspired by The Truman Show, Inception, and The Matrix. And people were like, wait, what? I mean, at least I was like, that is very intriguing. But so we got a big, long trailer from Warner Brothers today to tease this movie, which will be coming out later this summer. Very much like a, I don't know, Stepford Wives type of feel here. Certainly Truman Show, where there's like people living in a somewhat idealistic world where there's clearly some sort of like weird, seedy underbelly type of thing. Think Severance, think Homecoming, think like a lot of this psychological thriller stuff that's been going on. But this movie looks absolutely bananas. This is Olivia Wilde with a big budget and a big flashy cast coming off of her win with Booksmart, and this is her big motion picture. But Kirk, what are your thoughts after getting a look at this movie in trailer form today?
Yeah, I didn't really get the Inception feel from when I first watched it, but as it's like playing here, if you're just listening, go watch it again or watch it for the first time. They had this big eye, so there's definitely dreams happening in this and manipulation of reality. So now I'm kind of feeling that vibe. Now the Matrix thing, I'm still not getting. So I'm really wondering where that comes into play.
Yes, right.
Like, is Florence Pugh the one? Is she gonna like bust out and like have some bullet time? I don't know what that's gonna look like, but ultimately this genre is my absolute favorite, and you have like some of my favorite stars in this. I'm absolutely seeing this in theaters. I'm so pumped.
Yeah, it's a genre that's, I mean, it has always sort of existed, right? Psychological thriller, but it's almost there's this subset of the psychological thriller genre that exists these days that is becoming increasingly popular, which is just like there's something going on here, nobody knows what it is thriller. That's very much the shows that I described: Severance, Homecoming. WandaVision was like
Mhm.
that. Like this is something that's definitely like rising in popularity, but I think for all the right reasons. I think people, like at least you and I tend to like that thing. I think it's popular with the masses. So I'm very intrigued by this trailer. There's a lot going on. It's certainly not one dimensional by any means. There's a ton to digest. The thing that caught my eye in this trailer, above all else, there's a ton. At the one point where Florence Pugh is like sinking into the bath, there's a mirror next to her, and while
Yeah.
she sinks, the mirror, like her image on the mirror, stays there and continues like looking to the right. So I don't know if she's dreaming, she's like not actually in the real world, a la the Matrix, or what's happening. But there are a few things that you spot that you're like, oh, there's something happening that can't happen in real life
Mhm.
there.
Yep.
And the other thing that sticks out, and I'm sure this caught your eye too, Kirk, being a big Chris Pine fan, is the role that he is playing is
Yes.
freaky, freaky, freaky.
Yes, definitely that. I mean, Chris Pine is up for any task. I haven't seen him in a bad role yet. His command of this weird, mysterious villain, he's almost like a cult leader of the neighborhood.
Yes,
I'm not quite sure how to
yes,
pinpoint it just yet. And then you have these Hitchcockian views, these wide open spaces with very little in them, and you're far back. So when you're not close to something, you are the watcher and you're like, whoa, why am I watching this? What am I watching? And then as you get closer, then you can't escape it. So we've got some of those tactics happening within the film cinematography and camera work that Olivia Wilde is playing with, especially that last shot that you just saw. She's like standing at some kind of planetarium over a desert, giving me like Vertigo and North by Northwest vibes. And she's just like peering into it. It's like, what is she looking at? What is she gonna fall? Is she what's going on here? So this movie bonkers by all belief, and I'm so pumped for it.
yeah. It's gonna be a good time, and Florence Pugh stepping into the all too familiar role of being our gaslit queen of of the film. I'm picturing that meme with the two arms that are like locked together. They're both like super buff. I forget what movie it's from, like maybe Expendables or something like that. And it's like
Probably.
one arm says Midsummer and the other arm says Don't Worry, Darling. And in the middle where their hands join, it says gaslighting Florence Pugh to the point of insanity. That's that definitely appears to be what's going on. In fact, before I was like, can I even show the 3-minute trailer? It's really long and kind of like
It's a little steamy.
risque, right? Risque.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just show this picture of Florence Pugh being confused, because that's probably like the one the one thing that is the best visual summary of what's happening here is just like, guys, Florence Pugh is very confused by what's happening and borderline alarmed and horrified. So
Yeah, I think we should do a supercut of just Florence Pugh being
just her
confused in
faces.
movies. Albeit they'll all be different. They'll all be true to that character, but she will be very confused in very different ways.
Yeah, exactly. Like she always does a good job, and she always carves out a unique character, even if her characters find themselves in similar situations.
Yes.
And also, she has a very young career, so let's not forget that too. She's still a rising star with lots to do. But I'm with you. Very excited. Can't wait to see it in theaters. It should be a good time. All right, and now for the topic that I teased heavily at the beginning of the show, which is CinemaCon.
Yes.
And all things CinemaCon, all the big takeaways. There were a ton. And here's the thing with this event, right? Is like everything that you get is secondhand. This isn't like when Disney has their big like Disney Plus or Investor Day thing and you get to kind of like watch the live stream. Like this is a private, ticketed, paid event that you go to. And so everything you hear is secondhand, and everything you see is not everything that's released. Like they're in there showing like the first 20 minutes of movies. They're showing big chunks of movies that are already completed, and we just get like the snippets, the title cards, a couple of images here and there released by the studio. So we will talk about those snippets, and we'll kind of buzz through them here because there are a lot. But as we go through, we're not going to take as much time as we did on the first two segments, but we'll talk about anything that is intriguing about what came out at CinemaCon. So without further ado, let's dive into it. So first up, Let's talk about Marvel, because over the course of CinemaCon, there were a couple of things that came out of the Marvel shop that were somewhat interesting. The first one being that John Watts, director of the Spider-Man, the Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy, is actually leaving the Fantastic Four movie amicably. He just wants to take a break from comic book movies, but he is going to step away from that project, and he will no longer be directing that film for Marvel Studios. That's and the part about it being amicable and stuff is coming from Deadline. They did some reporting there. I think that was always sort of believed to be the case. I mean, the movie's not in production yet. This certainly isn't like a Justin Lin scenario. He's not storming off the set. So we'll see what happens there, but no new director happening there. Kirk, how does that, are you still okay with Fantastic Four, or are you worried about this?
I'm okay with Fantastic Four now that it's in Kevin Feige's hands. I think that he will not allow it to fail. I mean, certainly it's been in Marvel's wheelhouse, but he didn't have his finger on it right before. He wasn't quite sure how to do it. He's seen it failed several times, so now he knows what not to do. There's the blueprint, and now he has this whole world to connect it to. It's just a lot easier to get those strengths. We could possibly see something similar to Spider-Man, where we don't have a full origin story to it. And I think that's what's best for Fantastic Four. Just let these guys roll up and just exposition their way into what happened to them. Because, I mean, did you see the Miles Teller, Michael B. Jordan, Kate Mara, Fantastic Four?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was 98% let's show how they became the Fantastic Four, with like a 3-minute final battle, and then that was it. It was just so sad. It was so sad. I just feel like this, just do the opposite of that, and everyone will be excited.
Yep. And I feel like what will be interesting with this director search, more so than the other new movies that they've done, is like there's probably a reason they chose John Watts, right? Like there's a reason that for this franchise, they wanted to go with somebody they knew, which is not always something that they do. I mean, they've shuffled through all kinds of people. And like, think about, the Marvels. They had a different director in the first movie, went to Nia DaCosta in the second movie. The Thor movies, they had Kenneth Branagh, and now they're on to Taika. Like they shuffle through people, and they like to get new blood. But there's a reason that they wanted John Watts. And none of us know what that reason is. But Kirk, with them sort of, I don't want to say up against the clock, because this certainly isn't an urgent situation for them, and they won't act urgently. But with them having to now kind of rethink the plan here, do you think they're more likely to tap into somebody already in-house who they've worked with before in the MCU, or look outside for inspiration?
I think it's going to go two ways. It's going to be either someone that they've already had as a director that had a very successful film.
Yep.
Or B, a very big, well-known director. I don't think it's going to be, an up-and-comer who they've seen visions of their upcoming projects and they're like, yes, let's surprise people, but it's going to be one of those two paths. I don't know which one it's going to be, because they cannot miss on Fantastic Four. It will be just another joke to the whole franchise, which will be sad.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see where they go. I almost feel like they're going to look from within, but I don't know who that person will be. Like, part of me was like, do they tap back into Jon Favreau? Like, do they run that back? I know he's got a ton on his plate with the Star Wars situation, so maybe that's not even an option. Maybe his britches are a little too big for that. But, when you say like people who've already had a really big movie for Marvel that, are looking for more, like that list is pretty limited. Like Ryan Coogler is already working on Wakanda Forever. He's directing that film. The
Russo brothers.
The Russo brothers are kind of out of the picture right now until, maybe some further date, but they could be a candidate. So it'll be interesting. We'll keep a close eye on it, but that'll definitely be interesting. Staying on the Marvel front, the other thing that was announced at CinemaCon, the real quick one is that the Marvels and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania swapped release dates. The Marvels was going to release February 17th of next year. Now Quantumania is, and the Marvels then slides into the slot of July 28th. I don't even know why I'm telling you this. This will all change. this will all change. It just does. Like release date, people getting excited about release dates a year away is so silly because they change constantly. So, but that happened. But the other thing that was revealed at CinemaCon, Kevin Feige was not there because he was currently at a Marvel creative team retreat where they were planning out the next 10 years of MCU projects, and he has since returned from that retreat and confirmed that they have MCU projects planned out through 2032 now.
Holy cow. Holy cow. I
When
mean,
you
I feel
hear
like they
that-
should have done like a sweepstakes for that. You know, like you can come just
You can
sit
come
in
watch.
the room.
You have to sign an NDA, and we get to slay you dead if you spoil anything. We get to actually kill you,
Yeah.
but you can do. Yeah, you can win. That would have been sweet. It might be worse than not knowing, like knowing and not being able to tell anyone.
Yeah. Or they actually lock you up for for the next 10 years. So like you can't see anyone. You are somewhat of a prisoner. Like not in jail, but you're just going to sit in a room.
You're just
for
in
the rest-
Atlanta, Georgia. You get to watch production of the films, but you get to go nowhere.
Okay, that'd be cool. Can I bring my family? Can I
No.
I mean, no. Dang it.
I'll tell you who was definitely not in that meeting is Tom Holland. He's probably as far away from that meeting as humanly possible. They're like, none of this can get to Tom. But here's my question about that. So 10 years of MCU, I'm going to put you on the spot. Is there any character that has yet to be introduced or announced that you might want to come out of that meeting? Like any sort of project or character that you would want to get introduced in this. And it can be an X-Men character because we really only know Charles Xavier at this point based on the promos. It can be, truly anyone that they haven't tapped into yet.
Well, Cam, that is a very difficult question that I don't know that I can answer in this moment.
It's tough.
You know what? I lied. I'm thinking, I feel like with the big trends of having all of the villains have their big movie,
Yeah.
I want an extended time in World War II with Magneto. I really do. I want more of that because that whole timeline and just the stakes of it are so powerful.
Yes.
And I feel like there's a lot there still to give us more with Magneto. He's such a complicated character. You see him as a straight up villain at the start of X-Men, and then you're like, well, wait a second. Your boy was harmed. I mean, devastated. This man was broken down. Like he was a little boy and he saw all of this happening. Of course he wants to do something about it. And he wavers between good and bad. So, I mean, that kind of character arc, give me more of that. I think that's what I want, a solo Magneto film.
He's a really compelling character. He's a really good villain. And I was actually going to go that route too, with somebody who's like a pretty complex character who kind of like tiptoes the line. I mean, Magneto is like usually consistently bad. Every once in a while he helps them, but he's one of those villains, like all good villains should be, where you go, wait a second, that guy has a point, And so for me, I was thinking Silver Surfer. I want, and I know that that's like a really cartoony character that is hard to execute on the big screen, as evidenced by Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, the movie. Youch. But I want to see them do it. I think it would be so cool.
Maybe that's how they're introduced. We just get the Silver Surfer before we get the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, there you go. All right, a couple of other quick hitters coming out of CinemaCon. The spinoff, the John Wick spinoff called Ballerina that we've been hearing about, and I believe this was only rumors until CinemaCon because we talked about it on the show, but at the time I know that it was just in the rumor phase and was not solid, or it was totally just like they're in discussions. But confirmed, Ballerina will begin filming this summer with Ana de Armas as the star character in the John Wick spinoff, as was rumored probably around this time last year. So that's a huge deal.
Awesome.
More John Wick is never a bad thing. We all talked about Ana de Armas's awesome cameo, I guess you would call it, in No Time to Die. So this feels like a perfect fit for her, and expanding the John Wick world, I think, is a great choice.
Yeah, Ana de Armas just taking a page out of Linda Cardellini's book. She's just going to be in every major
Everything.
franchise in the history of time and just make her mark. So bravo.
She's going to be a human time capsule. They're going to be like, we can watch all of the generations of culture for the next 50 years through the eyes of Ana de Armas.
Yes.
It seriously could be that. The Hunger Games prequel, which I feel like we've been hearing about for 1,000 billion years, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's releasing November 17th, 2023 in theaters. This is so far removed from the Hunger Games. Like, this isn't I don't know. This to me doesn't even feel like a Harry Potter Fantastic Beasts situation, because Harry Potter was so much bigger in scale than the Hunger Games quadrilogy, tetralogy, whatever, because it ended up being 4 with the part 1, part 2.
Right.
But we feel so far removed from the Hunger Games right now to be getting a prequel. Like, I feel like that's bizarre.
I'm also shocked that Jennifer Lawrence is returning. That's also bonkers to me.
Yeah, because if it's a prequel and she's much older now,
right?
How does that work? Are they gonna? I'm confused.
Or maybe it's flashbacks. Maybe she is like telling this.
Oh, she's telling the story as a flashback, but like,
right? Like, I remember I was just a baby, and they like.
But she was like, what? How old was she in the first movie? Like, she was supposed to be like 15,
14. Yeah.
She doesn't remember jack. When you're a kid, all your memories are stupid. They're not like important things about war and stuff. They're like, I really liked this weird thing. I don't know. Like, that's I don't know where they're going with that, but we'll see. I mean, if J-Law's into it, maybe it'll be good. I mean, she's had bad projects before, so it's certainly not a slam dunk, but we'll see. It's coming November 17th of next year.
She's like, I just can't pull a Shailene Woodley and just like bail on my franchise that made me famous.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Here I am.
But what was Shailene Woodley's franchise that made her famous?
Divergent?
Oh, but those were garbage.
Oh, they're like a fun bad watch though. Like,
they're so bad. Like I read those books.
Did you?
I did before the movies, and I was so stoked about it, and they were so bad.
There's enough intrigue between her and Theo James does a great job.
Yeah.
And I think, is it Zoe Kravitz in those as well?
Yep, Zoe Kravitz, Miles Teller.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's because of their skill level and because of their camaraderie, at least in the first one, it's like
the first one is watchable.
Yeah.
The first one is watchable. It gets real bad from there. It gets real bad.
It does. I mean, Ansel is in those as well, and he just has like this brooding character, like, I'm going to be the best and I will conform. No, I won't conform. Yes, I will conform. Like, back and forth like 8 times per movie.
Man, if you had that same cast today, you'd be winning an Academy Award.
Right?
There's some big names up in there.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay, another section of rumors confirmed here. Tobey Maguire will star as Charlie Chaplin in Babylon, which is Damien Chazelle's movie that's coming out later this year. That's according to Variety. There were rumors about it. There were tons of rumors about Tobey Maguire being in Babylon, which is funny because he was in a really weird show for the indie channel called The Spoils of Babylon, which was like a Leslie Nielsen type show. Very funny and very bizarre. But anyway, he's now in a movie called Babylon by Damien Chazelle, and he's playing Charlie Chaplin, like the Charlie Chaplin.
Wow, I don't know why they just didn't get Robert Downey Jr. to do that again, but whatever.
Yeah, if you've done it once, you can do it again, right? Just roll it back.
Only 25 years ago, but I think he could still get the physicality down. I think he could.
For sure. It's still in there. This one's for you, Kirk. Mission Impossible 7.
Yes.
Officially titled Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. The Part 1 kills it, though. The Part 1 kills it.
I know. It should just be just Dead Reckoning, and then the second one is Dead Reckoning Part 2. I feel like that's cleaner, you know?
Okay, I'm putting you on the spot again. Mission Impossible titles power ranking. What is the best subtitle? Is it Ghost Protocol,
okay,
Rogue Nation, Fallout, or Dead Reckoning? What's your order ranked from best to worst?
Oh, hold on. I
Or
can't.
worst to best. Go
I'm a
worst to
visual.
best.
So we got Ghost Protocol.
Rogue Nation. Did I say Rogue Squadron? That's the Star Wars movie. I think it's Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation.
Fallout. And Dead Reckoning. And I want
Part
worst to best.
Worst of those. So there's 4. Rogue Nation gets a number 4.
Okay.
It's a tough. The rest is just tough.
It gets real tough from there.
It's just tough. Let's just be very clear. Dead Reckoning is number 1 on this list. There's no mistaking that. It is so cool. I'm gonna go. Ghost Protocol gets number 2. Fallout gets number 3. Even though I think the name Fallout, anytime you have a 1-word attachment to it, it's again cleaner. Less is more, right? James Bond, Skyfall, right? Like, ooh, what's that about? Fallout. Okay, right. So my ranking: Dead Reckoning, Ghost Protocol, Fallout, Rogue Nation.
Mine's the same as yours, except for I'm flipping the top 2. I'm going Ghost Protocol over Dead Reckoning. Just because Dead Reckoning is hardcore for sure.
Yeah.
But Ghost Protocol sounds very Black Ops, very like covert SEAL Team 6 type situation.
It's a tough one because Ghost Protocol of the 3 that have been released is probably the best, even though they all just keep getting better. There's something about Ghost Protocol that was like solidifying, like, okay, Mission Impossible 1, incredible, brilliant. Mission Impossible 2, garbage. Mission Impossible 3, J.J. Abrams, thank you. We're back in the game. Ghost Protocol solidified that series, that franchise, to make sure that it could continue to spawn more sequels. So
it vaulted it into the current. I think that it took like a very much needed step because the gap between 3 and 4 is massive.
Right.
And it was, I agree. It's a significant movie. They're all so good though, except for two.
Absolute.
Let me just restate that. Except for 2. Okay. Next up, Avatar. Oh man, talk about hearing about a movie for 1,000 billion years. Well, it comes out this year. It was going to release on the same day as Shazam: Fury of the Gods, but Shazam decided to scooch their release date by a week to dodge that. Probably a solid call on their part because they're going to advertise the crapola out of this movie. But the official title is Avatar: The Way of Water. And I don't know, like, is it just the whole thing is underwater? The title card looks like it's underwater to me. No idea. The way that James Cameron apparently described these movies at CinemaCon, and they showed part of it, they said it was insane. But basically that each movie is a sequel to the previous movie, but is also self-contained, meaning that the story begins and ends in that movie, and the sequel just takes place in the same world, but it's like a different thing, which I was like, that actually is a good way to go about this, given the, giant 10-year gap, 13-year gap between this movie and its predecessor.
Yeah, it's like the Die Hard movies, right? So you have Die Hard 1 takes place in a building. Die Hard 2, it's an airport. Die Hard 3, it's the whole city. Die Hard 4.
So they're just going to do different terrain. 1 was just like land and kind of air with like the dragon monster flying things.
Right.
This one's water. They'll do one that's like volcano.
Yep.
They'll just go they'll go Avatar: The Last Airbender, and they'll just do the elemental thing.
Yes.
All over Pandora. I think you might be onto something.
I think James Cameron watched Captain Planet reruns and he said, I've got it. He's got the next water, earth, sky, fire.
Recycling. I can't wait for the recycling Avatar movie. I think that might have actually been the first one, if we're being honest. It was like, save the world. Don't let the people steal the natural resources at the expense of the natives.
Earth. Yep. But recycling, such a they missed their mark, right?
They did. But Kirk, good news for you is that we will get to see the trailer on Thursday night whenever we go see Doctor Strange. It is actually releasing exclusively alongside Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness until a week after that movie's been in theaters, which is when they'll release it online. So if you are in the tiny, this has to be the smallest Venn diagram section ever. Like people who hate Doctor Strange / the MCU, but love Avatar so much, you'll want to buy a ticket to Doctor Strange just so you can see the trailer and then walk out.
Yeah.
That's basically what I'm saying.
I think those people should be immediately arrested upon departure.
If they leave in the first 5 minutes after seeing the Avatar trailer, you just round them up. You're like, nope, actually, we have a special society just for you where you can go be weirdos together.
Yes, they supply you with blue makeup.
Yeah, you can just go
a
romp around
loincloth.
on this godforsaken island with all your other cat friends.
Do you think it's going to be like mermaids, like Avatar mermaids, like of
I
the
would say
water?
all bets are off, Kirk. I, I think we could go any way with it. I'm gonna be really mad if this movie's like amazing because that just won't make any sense. But
I'll be very upset if
We'll
it
see.
is good.
okay, other quick hitters. David O. Russell's new movie finally has a title, and it is not Canterbury Glass. It is, I repeat, it is not Canterbury Glass, which everyone has been calling it. It's called Amsterdam. So we'll see. But we got to first look at it. It was just like one picture of Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, and John David Washington. John David Washington and Christian Bale like had eye patches on, so I don't know what that's going on.
Pirates. This is a pirate movie.
It's pirates. Next up, Alejandro G. Inarritu, director of Academy Award-winning Best Picture Birdman and Academy Award nominee Revenant. The Revenant.
The Revenant.
Yeah. His next film, Bardo, will release on Netflix and in theaters at the same time at the end of this year. So,
Whoa! Take that, HBO Max.
I know Netflix is coming for the big trophy. So we'll see what happens.
Wow.
And it was shot on for any of you real cinephiles out there. It was shot on 65 millimeter cinematography. So 65 millimeter film that is. So
Very nice. I know we've briefly talked about this, just a tangent. I really want to see someone film an entire feature film on
Yeah.
an iPhone. I want it to say filmed on iPhone 15. Like I want it to be that because
it'll be David Leitch. He'll do it. He'll do
okay,
it.
perfect.
I'm sure he will because isn't he the one who directed so he's directing Bullet Train with Brad Pitt that comes out, which looks like just a ton of fun.
Yes.
And I think he did the snowball fight iPhone commercial during the Super Bowl that came out. Maybe was it last year?
Yes. That's
and he was
right.
like, I think they interviewed him around that, and he was like, "Yeah, I love shooting on iPhone." Like, so it'll be him. He'll be the one to do it.
Perfect. I want it to win. I want it to have a good script. I want it to have a great cast, and I just want to have production photos
Yeah.
of the director walking around with his iPhone on like a
The
steady
cinematographer,
stabilizer
he's
thing.
just got like a selfie stick. It'll either be David Leitch or Steven Soderbergh. It'll be a race to the finish between those two. See who can figure it out.
Yes, please.
Other quick hitters. Michael Shannon will return as Zod in The Flash. That's right. Zod, the villain in Man of Steel, who gets, spoiler alert, killed by Superman, will return. And the funniest tweet I saw about this one was somebody said, so Michael Shannon's returning for The Flash, but will Ezra Miller? I was like, but yes, that is the real question. So we'll see what happens.
Incredible.
This is not really news, but they did announce it at CinemaCon. The Batman 2 is in the works. They're not going to call it the Batman 2. If they did, I would fall out of my chair. We'll see what they call it, but it is in the works.
Batman, the second one.
Yeah. Other sequels in the works. There's a sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife that is in the works, which, confession time, I haven't seen that movie yet. I don't know how. It just slipped under the radar last year.
Yep.
Venom 3 is in the works, and that's pretty much it for sequels. But the other big movies that were announced is Wicked is now going to be 2 movies, which that is like red flag city, if you ask me. That's like, that is not good. I don't know. Is there any way that this turns out okay after that announcement? I feel like that for me was like a nuclear bomb on this project.
No, because that musical, it covers so much ground, and it's
Yes.
a live show, and it's 2.5 hours. So
Yeah, it's a musical. Yeah, it's a Broadway show. It's like a very normal time limit show.
Right. So then if you're telling me that you need 2 movies, that means you're
Yeah.
adding stuff. You're adding weird stuff from the book that wasn't good enough to be in the Broadway musical.
Flashbacks and yes, I agree. I don't think it's gonna. I think that is bad news.
We don't need that. We don't want it. It's not a good sign. It's just not a good sign. And for something that's been in production since 1 year after the Broadway musical premiered,
And the
it's
movie,
just
the
terrible.
first movie, I almost said the movie. The first movie doesn't come out until December of 2024. That's
Wow.
an eternity away, and that will probably move out. Even like,
Oh yeah. We will never see this movie.
there's a good chance. There's a good chance it never sees the light of day. I mean, that's totally nuts. Other nuggets, Barbie and Oppenheimer. This is so funny. These are the 2 movies that have been like competing in the super cast battle. Like Chris Nolan adds 3 people, so does Greta Gerwig, and it's like these massive casts. We've been talking about it. They are scheduled to release as of right now on the exact same day, July 21st, 2023. And if that holds, Kirk, I'm putting it in writing right now. We're watching both, or we're reviewing both. July 21st, 2023.
Okay, wow, that's crazy.
We'll watch both and review both if it sticks.
On the same day.
Simultaneously. We'll start the movies at the same time. We'll rent out a theater to do that. Be like, hey, can you just kind of like stack them?
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you want with the audio? We're like, play it concurrently.
Just mix it all in.
You've got Hans Zimmer's score over here. You got Barbie Girl by Aqua coming from the other side, and then you die. That's how you just melt into a puddle and you cease to exist.
Oh, yes, please.
And then finally, and I had to save this one for last because I find it absolutely hilarious. Sony's universe of Spider-Man films, which has officially taken a major turn for the worse following everyone hating Morbius and the fact that it already like wasn't the best because those Venom movies have not been like stellar. They've been like okay. The next movie that they've announced is a film called El Muerto. Did you take Spanish in school, Kirk?
I did.
What does that mean? Like the death, the killer? What is that?
Well, it should just be the dead, but
The dead. Okay, sure.
yeah.
It's they're making a movie called El Muerto based on this like super powered luchador type of Mexican wrestler, starring Bad Bunny. And here's the kicker, Kirk. If that doesn't already sound like a terrible idea, that character has only appeared in 2 comics. 2, not 2 runs of comics, 2 issues of comics. And how many different Spider-Man / Marvel comics are there? Like hundreds of thousands. He's appeared in 2. What will this even be about?
I mean, someone needs to be fired immediately because of this decision.
I feel like it's got to go to the top. I mean, I know Amy Pascal like is riding high coming off the Tom Holland trilogy situation, but people more closely associate that with Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios. Like, this is horrible. This is horrific.
I mean, how can you take a character that has never been developed? It was never had a fan base to then all of a sudden extrapolate this into a movie. However, I will say I'm trying to work myself through my old comic books, and if I find El Muerto in one of them, I'm sure I'm going to have like millions of dollars on my hand if I sell it during the right week before the reviews come in. I think that's the key right there.
I mean, I bet this is like a more recent character. If I had to guess, like a more recent character, maybe they're planning on writing more, and so they're like, let's get out in front of it. We're gonna roll out some comics in conjunction with it. I have no idea, but this is like red flags all over the place. Between that, you've got the Madam Web movie. We'll see what that is going to be like. Madam Web, also not a big character. Kraven the Hunter is a decently big character, but also a villain, much like Venom. I don't know. It's a bit of a mess over there at the moment.
Yeah, that's just not good. Not good at all.
All right. Exhale. We did it. We made it through everything significant from CinemaCon and I say significant because that's totally subjective, and that just means, did we think it was significant enough to put in the podcast? So yes, we made it through everything significant that happened at CinemaCon. Anything else, Kirk, from movie news this week that caught your eye?
I've got absolutely nothing. I'm exhausted over all the movie news. It was
My
just
brain.
incredible. It was such a ride. And one day we'll own our own theater so we can go to CinemaCon, strictly just for CinemaCon.
Yes. Okay. Next up, for those of you who are avid listeners, here's what you have to look forward to. We've got The Northman. We're going to be reviewing it. Kirk and I are actually about to record it right now. As soon as we hop off the stream, we're going to be recording our review of The Northman, which we saw last night. That review will drop on Thursday. Then on Thursday, Kirk and I will be ins Kino, as they say in German, in the cinema, seeing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and we will review that. Hopefully, here's my hope, and don't hold me to it, because again, this is very, very fluid. I'm hoping there's a chance we get to review it over the weekend so we can drop the review on Monday, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I want to make sure we get that review to you as soon as humanly possible, because there's going to be a lot there. And for those of you rushing to theaters to go see it this weekend like us, I want you to be able to have an outlet for your thoughts and hear what we had to say and get into all the nitty gritty. It's going to be a good time.
Yes, indeed.
But until all of that, I have to say a special thank you to our executive producer, Ryan Spriggs, and his band Rhetoric, with the lovely tunes you're hearing on the way out. Once again, catch them on Apple Music, Spotify, Google Music, anywhere else. We will see you for the Northman review.
Talk to you then.
Bye.